So further to this, if we wanted to interpret the most extreme cases possible of price elasticity of supply, then we'd be looking, just like with PED, when is it perfectly elastic and when is it perfectly inelastic? So if a smallest change in the price completely changes the quantity that someone's willing to supply, that's this. That's perfect elasticity. So that would be, I mean, really, it would be completely flat to be perfect. So that would be perfectly elastic PES. That's if the changing quantity is infinite for any given change in price. So this would be infinite because it's saying, hey, the quantity is going to rocket out there for the infinitesimal change in price. Obviously, that doesn't really happen with goods, but you could imagine this happening in theory if the price of making something literally did not change one iota the more that you made. It was just literally the same price, like you lived in a world where there were apple trees all around, and all you needed to do to get an apple was to go and pick it. That's the price of getting an apple, is the effort of going and picking it. And so if you're somebody who stalks the streets collecting apples and selling them to people, but people want it fresh, needs to be straight off the tree, then if they offer you, if the price goes up by 1 cent, suddenly you can make a profit, so you're just going to go around picking the apple, giving them to people. You're going to increase the supply infinitely, but if you didn't value picking apples at 1 cent less, then 1 cent less, pence less. You're not gonna go and pick the apples. So you can imagine a world in which theoretically you get something that's perfectly elastic, but my example was hopefully a bit confusing in the way that you can see it doesn't really happen, because generally the prices are going to change somewhat. And even in an apple picking example, do people really demand it to be perfectly fresh? Or could you pick them up and put them in a bag and get some economy of scale that way and actually reduce the cost of producing these hand-picked apples over time, for example. Anyway, this is perfectly elastic PES. It should be infinite, theoretically. Perfectly inelastic PES means that no matter what happens to the price, the company wants to produce exactly the same quantity of whatever it is. So that's just saying that the price increase that would be necessary to get you to produce more, to cover the costs of producing more, is literally infinite. So that's saying that you've got to a point where beyond this is basically impossible to achieve. So if you have a fixed amount of items and you can use those items and then that's it, and you can't produce any more, or you could produce any more, but it would take literally all the resources of the world. That's the situation here. It's completely inelastic supply because it's not going to change in the slightest. So the change in quantity is 0, no matter what the change in price is. So this is perfectly inelastic PES, and that's 0 because there's no change. No change in quantity, but any change in price. So that's just a quick review of that. In terms of interpreting the values, well, we've already discussed that a bit last time. So when the PES is under 1, it's inelastic. It's going to take a big increase in price to get you to get a producer to sell more, and therefore it's going to be a steep supply curve. When it's elastic, it's going to be a shallow supply curve because, hey, the quantity supplied on this x-axis is going to be very willing to change with a change in price, which typically means the costs of increasing more are not too bad. That's a very quick run through on elasticities of supply. I'd recommend going back and re-listening if it's still a bit of a haze.